Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. If you have not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, as we're now on the road to 300 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. If you love sports news, sports betting, special segments, daily uploads, updated rankings every single week, my reactions, anything at all, it's all right here on the Talk of the Town podcast. So I promise you, your subscription will be well worth it and much, much appreciated. And here in today's video, this Thursday morning, I'm just going to be talking about some things previously throughout the week. I'm going to talk about the Giants versus Eagles game tonight on Thursday Night Football, and some stuff upcoming this week as well. Just some thoughts I have and have had throughout the NFL so far this year, as we usually do. If you're new here, every Thursday, no special segments or anything. Just kind of catch up on some things and talk about some things later on throughout the week. So it'll be a good video, chill video here today. Also going to talk about the Raiders still not benching Geno Smith. The Steelers, are they actually a top 5 to top 10 team? Pete Prisco had that in his list. Going to talk about that here a little later on, and just touch up on some other things as well. So it'll be a nice video today, chill video, and stay tuned. And let's get right into the video here today. Let's start off with the Giants versus Eagles Thursday Night Football game tonight. Divisional matchup there, as they usually are on these primetime games, it seems like. Of course, we did just have Chiefs and Jags the other night as well, but it seems like the NFC East gets a lot of primetime games. Dallas, Philly, Washington now, even the Giants. Even the Giants have sucked forever sorry, Giants fans, but it feels like the Giants have sucked forever, and they always get primetime games, although there are a lot of big markets there in the NFC East as well. So it does make sense, of course. I mean, I've been knowing that, of course, but it just seems like they're on a lot on prime time. So Giants versus Eagles tonight. I think this is going to be an extremely important game for the Eagles, to be honest with you, especially with them 4-1. The Commanders starting to get healthy again. You got a healthy J. Daniels, a game behind. The Eagles on paper should be able to win this game pretty comfortably, but the way they've been playing does not necessarily tell that story quite as well. And it's a divisional game. I don't care how much better a roster is than the other. When you have divisional games, and no matter whether or not it's on prime time, whether or not it's at 1 o'clock on a Sunday, whenever, these primetime games are always, not primetime games, divisional games are always very sketchy, because no matter what, honestly, divisional games seem like more or less most of the times always kind of end up in an upset, aka the Patriots on Sunday Night Football on Sunday this week. It seems like there's a lot of upsets this week too. Let's see if that trend carries over starting today on Thursday Night Football. So we'll see. If I still had to take a team to win, I would definitely take the Eagles. The Giants, definitely not really necessarily an important game for them. I guess in terms of, I don't know, I guess their pride and just really confidence in general. It would feel good for Jackson Dart to get a win and his first start against the Eagles. Well, I guess not his first start, but his first game against the Eagles. And would definitely feel good for that organization there. But, I mean, of course, the Giants have no expectations of making the playoffs again. Sorry, Giants fans, but that's just the truth. This feels like a very much of a development year for Jackson Dart now, especially with Malik Neighbors out, which definitely hurts the Giants' offense, which is going to hurt them this game. There's been nothing really wrong with the Eagles' defense. I mean, I think they've been playing very well throughout the first, 5-6 weeks of the season so far. Kind of crazy to think that we're already heading in week 6, by the way. It just seems like a couple days ago I was sitting here saying, hey, we are finally on the first week of the NFL here ever on this podcast. Excited to give you guys all these special segments now. We're already in week 6, like week 8 to week 9 is halfway through the season just about. We're kind of almost there here in a few weeks, which is extremely scary how fast time is flying. Time is going by so fast. I know it's kind of off topic. I mean, not really, but gosh, it is this year, man. This season is flying by. Especially, it flies by even more, I can tell you, when you run a podcast or make some sort of content on football. I don't know if anyone on here necessarily does that, but even still, if you don't, it still goes by way too fast. But it seems like it goes by even faster now that this is my first year doing the podcast during an NFL season. So that's just kind of crazy. But the Giants, again, no Malik Neighbors headed into this game. Feels like a big development year for Jackson Dart now. They just don't have enough firepower to stick around with the Eagles. Personally, I think Abdul Carter, it'll be kind of nice to see how he does against this Eagles offensive line tonight against Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. Again, I think that the Giants defense has been actually playing pretty decent. They're kind of sporadic. Every once in a while they'll play good, and then they'll have some bad games, have some bad drives. Every defense has bad drives, but the Giants, I don't know. I am on that wave, and I go into the Giants page a lot, look a lot under their just in the kind of media groups in general, the New York Giants media groups, and a lot of them are so ready to move off Brian Daboll and just get a fresh start. Even after losses and everything, like his post-game interviews are brutal. I don't know if you guys have watched them, but I suggest going back and just watching clips of Brian Daboll's post-game interviews just from this year alone, and they are pretty horrible. So if it wasn't for that year they had, back in 2022, a few years ago, and they snuck in the playoffs and had that pretty hot start, and then they actually really got pretty cold towards the end of the season. They just had a really hot start. Brian Daboll probably would have been out of there maybe 2 years ago, like 2023 even, probably last year, but that season's really kept him afloat in New York. But it's looking like Daboll's seat is starting to get scorching hot. I will say, though, for the Giants last week, Jackson Dart really kind of came back down to earth. Even though that win against the Giants, Jackson Dart didn't have the greatest game in the world, but he played well enough for them to win the game, which is what I just think the Giants have been looking for years now. It's just a quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over, makes stupid mistakes, and just plays bad enough for them to lose. Jackson Dart played well enough for them to win in that Chargers game, one of the bigger upsets of the year so far. And the Giants last week against the Saints, I wouldn't be beating yourselves up too bad for that. The Saints, even though people thought they were going to be way worse than they are 1-4 right now. They have been extremely competitive. Like, that team is not that bad at all. I'd actually rank them pretty high, I guess, in terms of like the bottom tiers, but I'd probably rank them in the high 20s. They're not a bottom like 30 team in the league. I mean, even though they are 1-4, but they've been the only game they have not been competitive in was against the Seahawks. I mean, the 49ers, who have proven even with all the injuries they have, can stick around with anybody. Saints brought them to like the final drive of the game. Last week against the Giants, played well and ended up winning that game. The Seahawks, they lost like 44 to something. And the Cardinals, I remember the first week as well, they only lost that game by like a touchdown, even though the Cardinals aren't necessarily a great team. You look at the roster, it's obviously probably not that much better than the Saints roster, but it is better. Spencer Rattler's actually playing pretty good. So New Orleans is definitely not just like you look over and if you lose that game, I was like, we just lost a free win. Like, this game, we should have easily won this game. No, New Orleans is definitely not a free win on the schedule. They've been very competitive. So I wouldn't be beating yourself up too much, Giants fans, if you are to that loss to the Saints. Saints have been very competitive. So have the Giants. So, like, the Giants have been competitive with teams. And Jackson Dart against the Saints, again, kind of like a welcome to the league moment. Had a few really bad turnovers. Scadaboo had some turnovers, rookie mistakes that are expected to happen throughout Scadaboo's first 5-6 games so far, and Jackson Dart's second start ever in the league. So it's got to be patient. That's all. I don't know if Jackson Dart will work out in this league or not. None of us know. I don't give up on quarterbacks after a game or two unless they are like really bad. I'm going to bring up a name that a lot of you guys probably haven't heard in a while, but like maybe like Nathan Peterman or something bad, like one of the worst quarterbacks to ever race the field in the NFL ever. Obviously, you can tell when a quarterback just doesn't have it. Obviously, Jackson Dart has the traits to be a really good quarterback, but it may just take him longer than others. Who knows? We'll just have to find out. One of the things with the Giants, though, that kind of worries me with players like that is you see how Daniel Jones has flourished after he left the Giants. I mean, he was honestly pretty bad on the Giants almost every single year he had there. Same goes, well, no, not the same goes with Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley was injured a lot on the Giants, but even then, like, he couldn't really find his role there. I don't know. He's really flourished on the Eagles. Like last year, over 2,000 yards, ended up winning a Super Bowl his first year there. Obviously, he's 1 year with the Eagles alone was better than any year he had with the New York Giants. So it really goes to tell you all you need to know. These players seem to flourish when they leave New York. I don't know if that's a Daboll thing or what, but I think a lot of people will see that and are like, okay, it's time to get rid of Daboll. But again, for the Giants, it would be a really nice confidence boost to win this game for you guys. But in terms of really just for the outlook of next season and everything, probably wouldn't be so bad to lose either. Get up there in the draft. You know, you have Malik Neighbors out for a while. Maybe you go out and draft another offensive lineman, another pass rusher. You know, anything you want if you draft high enough. I'd probably draft like a cornerback if I was the Giants. I think the Giants definitely need some secondary help. So maybe, hey, Caleb Downs will be there in the draft. Maybe you guys will draft high enough to get him. I think you guys will. That would be a massive boost for the New York Giants. But the Eagles, Kevin Patullo, I mentioned before in some few videos over the last week or two now, definitely needs to find a way to get this offense moving. I've mentioned with the Eagles, I've said this a few times now the last few weeks, is it feels like they can't find their identity on offense. They don't know whether they want to pound the ball. They don't know whether they want to just force feed the ball to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, which is what it kind of feels like they're doing right now. And it's not really working. Again, the Eagles played one really good half, and then the other half of football, they just play so bad. I mean, they play like one of the worst teams in the league for one full half of football, and then they play like we know how the Eagles can play for the other half. So it is very strange. I don't know what's going on with the Philadelphia Eagles right now. Do I think they'll get it fixed? Most likely. I mean, they kind of the same scenario at the beginning of last year when they started off like 2-2. They were calling for Sirianni's job, and then you turn around and look, and they're like 12-2. I mean, they didn't lose a game till Sunday. They didn't lose a game for 280 days. So that tells you all you need to know right there. I mean, that team was absolutely steamrolling at the beginning of this season. And last season, well, I won't even necessarily say they were steamrolling at the beginning of this season because they've had that issue of that one half that's really good and the other half that's just really bad. I don't know. They have to fix that. If they're going to win the Super Bowl and even just want to get back to the Super Bowl in general, which is the expectation for this team. You know, this isn't a team that's just expected to go to the first round and get bounced. The expectations for this Eagles team is to make the Super Bowl. And that one half of playing bad football and the other half of playing good is just not going to work. They have to figure out their identity on offense. Personally, I think they should get back to doing what they did last year. Saquon Barkley had over 2,000 yards rushing. Kind of seems like they're really trying to get A.J. Brown going and really get Devontae Smith going. But honestly, I think the better duo you have is with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley really using their legs. You even have A.J. Dillon back there. I mean, their backfield is really good in Philadelphia. I think it's better than their receiving group. And Jalen Hurts, while I think he is a good passer, I think if you're trying to make that offense into just a more of a passing offense with Jalen Hurts, I think you're just kind of waiting for a disaster to happen, to be honest with you. He's not a full-on pocket passer. He's not. Like, if you want to make your team a pocket passing team, you need to go out and get another quarterback because it's not going to work with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is like, he's good at passing the ball and mixing up the offense when your running game is going. He's a good deep ball thrower, but in terms of picking apart the defense at will, Jalen Hurts is not good at that at all. And again, that's what I don't know. This is Kevin Patullo's first year as an offensive coordinator. Last year, where they did turn it around, they had Kellen Moore, who is obviously experienced before that with the Dallas Cowboys, and Kevin Patullo is brand new to this, so it is a little worrisome in terms of that. I guess a little more worrisome than it was last year. Just took Kellen Moore a few weeks to really understand what the Eagles wanted to do. I'm sure Nick Sirianni has been hounding Kevin Patullo, but this is an important game for the Eagles, especially now with the Commanders healthy. Jane Daniels is back. They're only a game behind right now. If they were to drop a game to the Giants tonight, which I don't necessarily think they will, but I'm not putting it out of the question. It's a divisional game on prime time. These two teams have a rivalry towards each other. Anything can happen. Literally anything can happen in this game. This is not just some slam dunk. Okay, let's just go 5-1 and get back on track, which is what you want, but it's not a guarantee to happen against the Giants. The Giants have been competitive against good football teams this year. So definitely this could be a trap game for the Eagles. If they were to drop 4-2 and the Commanders were to win this week, I don't know if the Commanders are on a bye or not. I don't think they are, but Next thing you know, both teams, you look up, they're 4-2, and if the Cowboys win, hell, if they would have beat the Giants, or excuse me, not the Giants, the Packers a few weeks ago and not tied, and the Cowboys were to win this week, they'd all be 4-2. So this is a competitive division. So this is not a game the Eagles can afford to lose this week here on Thursday Night Football. So do I think they'll win? Yes. Would I make it a guarantee? Absolutely not. I don't make any team a guarantee. But the Eagles offense, they really need to find their identity fast, because it's kind of starting to get later in the world. It's midway through the season now. And I mean, I know you hear me talking, and it's like, bro, Matt, they're 4-1. You know, I mean, this team isn't 2-2 or 2-3. You know, they're 4-1. They just barely lost to the Broncos last week, which I get. But this in January, this one half of good offense and one half of bad offense is just not going to work. So that's what worries me with the Eagles. Just they need to find their identity, and Kevin Patullo needs to find it fast. That's all I'm saying. So important game tonight. It should be a good game tonight. Giants and Eagles. Those divisional games are usually always good. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a blowout, but if it is, that means the Eagles probably got their offense back on track for the meantime. So I'll have to find out. Next thing I want to talk about here is the Lions. Right now are my favorite team to win the Super Bowl. I've been very high on the Lions all year, even when people were down on them in week 1 when they got blown out to the Packers. Didn't even look like they were competitive in that game. And like, guys, the Eagles will be fine. Packers just made a massive Micah Parsons trade a few weeks before that game at home. I said, any team that went against the Packers there in week 1, they were not going to win that game. The Packers would have beaten every single team in the NFL in week 1. The momentum they had at home, especially against a divisional rival like the Lions, they literally stood no chance. They just did not stand a chance that game. I was not worried about them losing that game at all. And look at them. I mean, they've won every single game since that. They look better than the Packers right now. Packers have kind of fallen off since. And yeah, man. I mean, the Lions, the way their offense is, the way their new coordinators, their defense looks really fierce. The way they love to see the rush the passer, and they're very effective at it. I mean, we've seen a few weeks ago against Lamar Jackson, 7 sacks against Lamar is always unheard of, and they ended up doing that and pulling off a really good win against the Ravens. When the Ravens seemed like they were still at full strength and really competitive, but obviously they're not the same team as they were a few weeks ago. But when the Lions played them, they were definitely near their best. So the Lions, I think this team finishes like 13-4. I think they are going to drop a couple more games. It's really hard to repeat what they had last year. They went 15-2 last year. Like, that is not going to happen. They'd have to lose one more game the rest of the year. Could it happen? Yes. I mean, they definitely have the team to do so. But their division's harder. Chicago kind of looks like they're starting to turn themselves around. Minnesota, even though with JJ McCarthy, no one really knows what to make of that situation. The Vikings are still a really good team in terms of their defense and just the personnel they even have on offense as well. Their offensive line's a little shaky there in Minnesota, but I think they're still a good team regardless, and it's a divisional rival. The Packers, we know, are a good team, even though they struggled the last few weeks. It seems like they are a good team overall. The NFC does have some really good competitors in it. I don't know the rest of the Lions' schedule. I'd have to take a look at it, but I know they play a first-place schedule, so they are going to have some tough games in there. There's no doubt about that. So, the Lions are my favorite to win the Super Bowl right now. Jared Goff, he's on the MVP voting right now, playing like a top 10 quarterback. People have him top 5. I fully respect it. That top 10 bunch, I ranked my top 10 quarterbacks a few days ago on Top 10 Tuesday, and that top 10 bunch is so hard to rank. Like, I had Jared Goff at number 10, but honestly, I could put Jared Goff at like number 3. I mean, those group of guys right now are all playing at such an elite level, and honestly, all have around the exact same statistics almost. Of course, Goff isn't going to have nearly as good as rushing statistics as like, I don't know, Josh Allen or even like Pat Mahomes right now, but his passing numbers, I mean, he's number 1 in touchdowns. He is really just carving up defenses. That offense has not lost any sort of steps at all. Which, again, I was trying to mention with the Lions is they didn't lose any of their great players. They just lost Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, which is, I'm not saying, well, they just lost those guys. It doesn't matter. Of course, those guys were good enough to get head coaching jobs. That's how good they were at being coordinators. But it didn't matter on their replacements. Like, their replacements did matter, which of course was a little bit concerning. Of course, if they didn't get good replacements, then it'd be like, damn, this team's not playing up to full strength. Well, even still, this team has too much talent to suck. And they're all in their primes. So I was like, the Lions, I think their floor was like 10-7. Even if their coordinators weren't very good. Well, their coordinators are very good right now. They're young, then they're getting more experience every single game. So it seemed like it was definitely good hiring there for Dan Campbell and the Lions, their offensive and defensive coordinator. So it really just kind of seems like they're picking up where they left off. Now they have a healthier defense. The only thing with the Lions is like Terrion Arnold has to stop getting so many holding penalties, because it seems like every time you look up and they throw this direction, there's just a flag flying. Some of them I have watched, and they are extremely ticky-tack. So they're not necessarily all his fault, but at the same time, he is very touchy as a cornerback, and they used a first-round selection on him. So he has to be better in terms of getting those holding calls, because it is a lot. He does get a lot of holding calls, and it is driving Lions fans absolutely nuts. And I have seen them all live. So the majority of them, though, are legitimate, which I don't usually say. I'm like, God, these refs are so ticky-tacky on these calls. Some of them on Terrion Arnold are, of course, like, they really could have gotten away with not calling that. Like, it wasn't necessary. But honestly, I can say a lot of them are like, dude, you are holding the shit out of them. Like let go, dude. You know? So that's kind of the one main concern I have. But as long as our offensive line stays healthy, Gibbs and Montgomery stay healthy, Alvin Ross stays healthy. I mean, these names I'm naming off are elite level players that any team would take any day of the week. So, yeah, man, I think the Lions right now are my Super Bowl favorites in terms of the AFC and the NFC. The Bills in the AFC, their defense has some issues right now. Their defense is just not playing very good at all. So, I think the Bills are going to struggle in that department. And also, too, the Bills in January asked Josh Allen to play a lot of Superman. I seen that against the Patriots on Sunday. They asked Josh Allen to play Superman. Well, what did they do? It got them their first loss of the season. Well, unfortunately, in January, you can only get one loss and your season's over. So that's where I do have some concerns there with Buffalo in terms of being a real Super Bowl contender, to be honest with you, because they asked Josh Allen to play Superman. I just think it's over. I think they're going to lose in whatever round they play in, which seems to, it happens every single year in the playoffs. They asked Josh Allen to play Superman, and there it is. The Bills season is over just like that. So definitely a little concerning. The Patriots, which people are hyping up this week, I still feel like are a little young, a little too soon to be able to be a Super Bowl contender. I feel like if they were to play the Lions, they would lose right now. So I just think in terms of the experience the Lions have had now, their roster is like all really dead smack in their prime. Their quarterback has Super Bowl experience, playoff experience. Dan Campbell seems to have some playoff experience under his belt now. In terms of really besides Philly and Tampa right now, which I like the Lions better than Philly and Tampa in terms of going into Week 6 right now. They're my favorites to win the Super Bowl. So Lions fans, something you probably never thought you'd hear, although you have heard the last couple of years now that the Lions are really contenders, but it just probably still feels surreal. And I'm not trying to necessarily rub salt on the wound, but man, the pain you guys have endured for beyond my lifetime. I mean, my entire life, the Lions have been just so horrendous. Dan Orlovsky and all those jokers. So besides Matt Stafford, but even with Stafford, they didn't win anything at all. So yeah, man, Lions fans, I bet it still feels surreal to hear favorites to win the Super Bowl. Next thing I want to talk about is, are the Steelers actually a top 5 team according to Pete Prisco's list? I don't know if you guys know who Pete Prisco is, NFL analyst. And his list in terms of power rankings and ranking teams is one of the most, I'd say, famous ones. Like, everyone goes and they watch. He gets hundreds of thousands of likes on it. And everyone kind of roasts him in the comments. Not kind of. They pack the shit out of that guy in the comments. So, to me, the Steelers, if you watched my top 10 list a few days ago, they were not in the top 10. They're right on the brink. Like, they're right there. I think if they win this week, they'll most likely be in the top 10. Again, that list is just very jam-packed right there. There's a lot of teams that weren't in the top 10 that feel like they could be in the top 10. that absolutely could be in the top 10. But the Steelers, I've seen the wins they got. They really didn't. I mean, I don't want to say they didn't beat the Patriots because they did, but the Patriots beat themselves. They just kept fumbling the ball over and over again. And I see the way the offense played in that game. I mean, it was really bad. That Steelers offense was really bad. They picked up the last few weeks, which has been good, but I think a lot of people just want to see a little bit more explosiveness out of that offense. Aaron Rodgers, the only concern I really have with him is one, his age, of course, and he takes a lot of hits. One big hit for him, and he'll probably be done for the year in his entire career. So the thing is like he looks old and moves like he's old. For one, he is old, so it's not like he does it because he wants to do it or it just looks like it. It's because he is. And old quarterbacks in cold weather tend to play a lot different. And that's what I'm saying, like December. And right now, of course, I'm not ranking my top 10 teams right now based off of who I think will be good in December and January, because it would look different. But the Steelers, I think Aaron Rodgers, and I'm just bringing this up for future reference, they're going to struggle. The offense is really going to struggle without a seriously good run game, because Aaron Rodgers, that arm is going to be cold. Those hits he takes in that freezing cold in Pittsburgh when it's 20 degrees out, it's going to feel a lot worse than it does right now when it's 70, 80 degrees out right now. Trust me, I live a few hours away from Pittsburgh, where the weather's relatively the same all right here. And it's not cold yet. It's still warm. It's not hot at all, but it's been in the 70s and 80s. So, these hits he's taking now, sometimes it's like, damn, how the hell does he get up from that? You look up and you're just, holy shit, that hit he just took was like, is he going to get up from that? Well, when it's 20 degrees out, it's going to be very hard for him to get up from those hits. He's actually already admitted that before, funnily enough. So that's the only real concern I have with the Steelers going forward. It's like their run game is not good enough. And that's the only reason why I don't have the Steelers up there, is because I still have some concerns with the Steelers. Their run game isn't very good. Their passing game, they had a good game against Minnesota, but before that, I mean, against New England, their passing game was terrible. They really couldn't get anything going at all, and that was without Christian Gonzalez on the defensive side of the ball right there. So I definitely do have some concerns with Pittsburgh. It looks like their defense has stepped up. The first, honestly, ever since Minnesota, their defense was not very good at all, which was kind of concerning with Pittsburgh, because that was the main thing they were known for. They made a lot of signings with T.J. Watt, Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey's, I think, is out for a little while now. I've seen. So definitely, I have some concerns with the Steelers, and even though they are still winning games, which is what Mike Tomlin does, and the credit that he really deserves, is like with teams like this that are just barring so many injuries and all, is like these wins he just pulls out. He pulls out wins when you look at the numbers. It's like, how the hell does the Steelers team win? It's always some strip sack, some fumble. It's just some with the Steelers team. So, and they're pulling out Mike Tomlin just gritty wins right now. So, again, the Mike Tomlin effect is in full effect for Pittsburgh right now. If they do win this week, they'll probably end up cracking my top 10. But to me personally, I do not think Pittsburgh is a top 5 team in the NFL right now. I do not think they're up there with the Lions. Even the Eagles playing not so great football right now. A lot of people were harsh on the Eagles in their top. Some people moved the Eagles down to like number 10. I moved them down to like number 3. I was debating on moving them down a little more, but I'm not going to take one loss, your first loss in 280 days. I'm not going to move you down 9 spots, even though they have not been playing great, but they have been pulling off wins, even though they're not playing great at all. So, and I like Philly's roster a lot more than Pittsburgh. So, Pittsburgh is like right on the verge. I would say they'll probably like, I don't even know, like maybe 12 or something like that. I mean, they're right there in terms of being in the top 10. So again, that list is jam-packed, and I just don't feel like they're as good as some of those teams up there. Top 5 seems like a really high for Pittsburgh right now, to be honest with you. I think even Pittsburgh fans would be surprised, like, our team's top 5? Are they really top 5? So yeah, I don't have the Steelers that high on my list at all. They're like borderline top 10 for me right now. So next thing I want to talk about here is the Raiders are still not benching Geno Smith. That report came out, I think it was yesterday, that they're still sticking sticking by Geno. 9 interceptions in 5 games, though, is going to be something that's hard to stick by, especially if this week he goes out and really sucks. If he goes out and sucks this week, if there's another pick or two and they go out there and they lose, I mean, the Raiders really haven't even been competitive in their last couple of football games, to be honest with you. I mean, they have just been getting just smoked out there. I mean, that loss to Indy on Sunday was pretty demoralizing for the Raiders. Geno Smith just on pick after pick, turnover after turnover, which drives Pete Carroll absolutely through the roof. Pete Carroll hates turnovers. He wants to go out there and just play solid defense, hold teams to 14, 20 points or something, and you just go out there and don't turn the ball over. Well, Geno Smith is just a turnover machine right now. I think that comeback story is over for Geno. For when he's getting older, I don't know how old Geno Smith is. Exactly, I can't pinpoint it, but I know for a fact he's in his 30s. But he's starting to get older, and it's been a while since he's had since the beginning of his comeback in Seattle. It was like 2021, I think, like 2021, 2022, right around there. So, I mean, I guess it was only 3-4 years ago. But it's a long time in the NFL. And Geno's kind of just really, really falling back to earth and looking like the old Geno Smith we all know and love. So the Raiders, the thing is with the Raiders, though, and I do agree with a lot of people saying it's like, is Kenny Pickett really the answer, though? Like, would you be better off with Kenny Pickett? Thing is, though, is like you kind of wonder is like, well, maybe. I mean, is Kenny Pickett going to throw 9 interceptions throughout his last 5 games? That kind of makes you wonder a little bit. Like, there is definitely a lot more boom potential with Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith is the better quarterback. But in terms of turning the ball over, Kenny Pickett might be the better quarterback in that department, which in terms would probably make him the better quarterback decision. So I think they're going to stick with Geno another week. I think you have more potential with Geno. Let me say that. I don't even necessarily know right now if Geno Smith is the better quarterback than Kenny Pickett. Like, I'm not necessarily going to say that because 9 interceptions in 5 games, that's pretty terrible. So Kenny Pickett might honestly be the better quarterback, but in terms of knowing what you could get with Geno Smith and what you've seen the first week against New England, now that Geno, if they could just get that Geno Smith again, this team would be back to rolling. So I think they're just kind of going off. Geno has more potential than Kenny Pickett, but in terms of being a better quarterback right now, that's not necessarily, far and away Geno Smith. I don't even know if it is Geno Smith. When you throw 9 interceptions in 5 games, that's not necessarily something that you're a good quarterback, because you're not a good quarterback. I mean, anyone can go in there and do that. I'll go in and throw 9 interceptions for 5 games. That's not something that takes a lot of skill to do right there. And it's getting progressively worse every week for the Raiders. A team that really didn't have any expectations to make the playoffs, but I thought would be more competitive than they are right now. They're really just, like I mentioned, they're getting worse every week. So I think a quarterback change could potentially be coming for the Raiders. They may give Kenny Pickett a shot, and you did end up trading for him. He was a former first-round pick. Whether or not I agree with that is completely something for another video, because I could go on a long rant about Kenny Pickett being a first-round pick. But I think there's some sort of potential with Kenny Pickett playing that maybe you could string out a few wins with Pickett. I mean, you can win games, but Geno goes out there and has another 1 touchdown, the 2 interception performance, or no touchdown and a pick, or no touch. It's you got to stop the Geno Smith experiment there in Las Vegas. I mean, the Raiders, to me, there's no doubt in my mind they're going to be drafting a quarterback next year, or at least trading for one, because this quarterback draft is not very good. I mean, as of this moment in college football, I don't know any quarterback I'd take in the first round that's coming out right now. Arch Manning definitely isn't coming out this year, and he wouldn't be a first-round pick. And I don't even know if Arch would be like a 5th-round pick. I mean, he's been atrocious so far for Texas. So, the Raiders, I don't know what they're doing with their quarterback situation, but this season starting to feel lost for the Raiders, even though, there wasn't much expectation of them to make the playoffs anyway, but it's starting to feel like that mountain is getting very hard to climb for the Raiders right now. So I think another bad performance from Geno Smith, and we could see Kenny Pickett in next week, to be honest with you. You guys let me know, Raiders Nation, if you're out there watching this right now, if you would prefer Kenny Pickett or Geno Smith coming into this week or next week. Let me know. Next thing I want to talk about here is another problem with JJ McCarthy that I think is being overlooked. Not necessarily overlooked in terms of like no one's talking about it at all, because they are, but people are kind of just banking on JJ McCarthy, saying that he's not talented enough. He just hasn't played well enough, which is true to an extent, but he's only had 2 NFL starts. Well, the main problem for me that's even worse than I guess people are talking about is talent-wise is the fact that JJ McCarthy can't stay healthy at all. He missed the entirety of last season, didn't even ended up playing like the half of a quarter in the preseason last year, his rookie year, and then tore his ACL. And now he's been out for weeks. Apparently, it's still up in the air whether or not he's going to play this week. As of this morning, I just checked before I logged on to the video. It's still very up in the air whether or not JJ McCarthy is going to suit up this weekend. Injuries to me are more of an issue than JJ McCarthy's play. He's played 2 games. I'm not going to base off whether or not JJ McCarthy can actually play in this league based off of 2 games. But I know for a fact the Vikings are regretting that pick with JJ McCarthy. I think they wish they could keep Sam Darnold right now, because they seen the way he played on Seattle, and they're sitting out here messing around with Carson Wentz, who is playing well, in fairness, but they know they have no choice but to go back to McCarthy when he's healthy. So Vikings got some real problems with this quarterback situation. And that's a problem that's, again, I don't necessarily think it's being overlooked, but it's not necessarily being talked about enough, quite as much as the JJ McCarthy play. People are talking about that more, whether or not he can play or not play. A lot of people think he can't play in this league. As I mentioned previously, I'm not going to base off someone's 2 starts in their career whether or not someone can play in this league or not, unless they are like Nathan Peterman bad. And JJ McCarthy has not been great, but there's definitely some sort of potential there. He was definitely one of the more questionable quarterbacks coming out of the draft last year, and people are very doubtful on JJ McCarthy right now. Again, I'm not quite as doubtful. Am I hesitant to say JJ McCarthy is going to work in this league? Yes, to be completely honest with you. But based off 2 starts, I'm not going to say this guy's a bust. But right now, he is kind of heading in bust territory. We're about to be heading into, right now, a year and a half in his career. We're almost halfway through this season, going in to his 3rd year next year in the league. Technically, this was really his 1st year. He didn't play at all last year. So he's really just off schedule. Like, this whole thing for McCarthy now, it's hindering his development because he can't play because he's injured. And even now when he's playing, I feel like he needs to go to a team that just really stinks. Like, he needs to go to New Orleans, which New Orleans has been competitive, as I mentioned a little while ago. He just needs to go to a team with no playoff expectations. The problem is he's stepping into a team that was 14-3 last year. That's a really massive issue, not only for his confidence, but just for the entire team in general. This experiment is just not it for the Vikings. Like, I think they should potentially try and trade him. I know people are probably not going to be happy with me saying that, but it's just, it's very tough for the Vikings. So I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on with that situation, but lots of injuries there for JJ McCarthy, and that's a massive issue for him heading into the season. Right now, just not even heading into the season or halfway through the season. It's just been his entire career so far. So, yeah, man, JJ McCarthy, massive injury issues there. So, definitely worrisome there. That is it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys tomorrow on Slips for Sundays. Everyone take it easy.